Well, hello. This is interesting. Hey, Seth.
Hey, Rahul.
Nice to
Good to
see
see
you.
you. Good to see you.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Rahul Sood, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Unicorn. And I've got Seth Shore with us as well. Seth, everybody probably knows who you are.
Hi. Good morning, good afternoon. Good to see you. Rahul, hope to see you in person soon, but this is a treat.
Yeah, this has been an interesting, uh, kind of a challenging time that we live in right now. Hey, I think it's just a strange moment in time that we're here, at this event virtually in our homes. I,
Yeah,
I I never thought that this would happen.
it really is. It continues to be. When this pandemic, came upon us, I was very quick uh, to try to compare it to other situations our industry has been in. I was living in Macau during SARS, so that seemed to be a clear comparison. Of course, I remember the impact of 9/11 well in Las Vegas, and of course the economic downturn. But boy, this really continues to be something quite different, something quite unique.
Yeah, I was. I have to say, over the years, I've been going to Vegas, as you know, to many events, talking about esports and the future of entertainment, wagering entertainment and stuff. And always people would talk about how when the economy gets hit hard, Vegas always gets the hardest hit, right? And they usually say that because, well, the gambling industry or the tourism industry tends to go down. But then, over the last few years, I've watched as Vegas has diversified, and we've got this amazing hockey team there, the Golden Knights, and you've got the Raiders coming in, the new stadium, and everybody is interested. Like sports are just being lit up with new gambling opportunities and things like that. We had the focus on esports and whatnot at the Luxor and other casinos trying to get involved in esports, and then boom, this hit,
You know,
and
Yeah, no, I think Rahul that the I couldn't agree more that there's been a great diversification in Las Vegas, but the underlying theme of what Las Vegas is it's all about social gathering. And during the economic downturn of 2008, that's when our industry realized we had to diversify and we focused on nightclubs. It was a new demographic, a younger demographic that didn't have home mortgages. We're a city that has always reinvented itself literally for 50, 60, 70 years. But the underlying theme is creating great in-person experiences, and this pandemic makes that very challenging.
yeah. So tell me about that just a little bit. Like let's talk about that before we get into sort of the future and esports and stuff. Let's just talk about what does this mean? From like I'm living in Seattle, right? And as you know, in Seattle we have it's this weird dichotomy where we have Amazon, which is booming, Microsoft is booming, and I'm sort of in this bubble where you have these amazing companies that are going crazy and they can't hire fast enough. And then at the same time, there's over 100,000 people that lost their jobs in the restaurant industry and hotels, and you got Nordstrom, which has their head office here. You have oh, by the way, Costco is booming; they have their head office here. But then there's and then all the biotech companies are just going crazy. But then you have other companies like Starbucks headquarters and things like that are sort of going down. You've got Boeing, which is kind of in trouble. It's weird. It's really weird, and we're noticing this big social disparity between the haves and the have-nots, and I'm worried that it's only going to get worse. And so just describe to me Las Vegas, since I haven't been there in a few months.
Yeah, so Las Vegas clearly is not as diverse as Seattle. While we have diversified over the years, we are 78% of our state revenue comes from tourism, comes from gaming. So we've been hit very very hard. Hundreds of thousands of people are unemployed and with a great level of uncertainty. I do like to believe, I am hopeful that we need to look at this as a short-term, medium-term, and long-term effect. Uh, but there are very few scenarios where the short-term, so let's just say the next 6 to 12 months, is positive in any way. Right now, it's very challenging if you are a team member of any one of the many casinos. You're not sure if and when the casinos are going to open. if your job will be there. And as an operator, whether you're an executive, an owner, a manager, it's very challenging preparing for opening when we have to, we're relying on the governor and the Gaming Control Board to give that green light. And I do have confidence in our government that they're, will continue to do the right thing. But it's a challenge. That all being said, let's assume that we start to see casinos open in June. We have no idea what the visitation and occupancy is going to be like. And I know all operators, whether you are a small, medium, or large casino operator, you're planning scenarios where it might be 10% of the revenue, it might be 50%. I don't think anybody is even wasting time with a scenario that's greater than that, at least in the short term.
Yeah, so basically, you see a world where casinos open, but maybe not all at once. Maybe they select, like property owners select which properties will open.
So the one thing we know today are the major operators, MGM, Caesars, Wynn, Stations, have all made their plans public. Wynn's a little different. It only has 2 properties, and they are going to open both for a while. They were only planning on opening Wynn, not Encore. Organizations like MGM are going to open 1 property per category, right? So a luxury property, one of their mid-tier properties. I do have, an understanding that operators have looked at properties in terms of which ones can operate at a break even or a small loss with, 50% of the revenue. So of course, there's a lot of thought and planning that is going into this. But whether you're a bar owner, restaurant owner, or a casino owner, any businesses that were on the brink pre-COVID or had any real business challenges pre-COVID, there's very little chance they'll open in this environment. And we're seeing that with a lot of restaurants in this town.
So let's shift gears then. Let's talk about what companies are doing to deal with this, and specifically let's get into the online space and some of the stuff that's happening there. I have been going to Vegas for years, as you know, and been speaking with casino operators about partnering and creating wagering experiences around the future of entertainment, which is my entire business, right? And I have never had more requests and more demand for our platform than we do now. And it's kind of it's sad because we built this platform because we know this is the future of sports. We know that people are going to bet on video games and they're going to bet on esports, that the viewership is going up. We're doing some crazy things with horse racing. That's just like next generation horse ownership, digital thoroughbreds, never been done before. And the calls are coming in, and it's weird to think that our business is spiking or growing on the back of this pandemic, which is unfortunate because we built it. We're glad we built it for people at home, but we had no idea that this is what would be the forcing function for casinos to finally say, hey, we need to do something fast.
No, Rahul, I've always been a big fan and advocate of what you and your company has done. And I'm hopeful that one of the silver linings is in the medium or long-term future when we do go back to a sense of normalcy. And I do believe we will, that, your solutions, esports, virtual racing, innovative gaming, will be a more significant part of our game mix. And that hopefully, a silver lining of this pandemic is making sure that the focus and conversation is around esports, which, I'm a big advocate of, and I really believe it's a part of our future, big part.
Yeah, we've had discussions with some of the regulators in the U.S. because, as you know, most of our platform operates outside of the U.S. in terms of our sports book, esports book. In terms of our skill betting, though, where people bet on themselves, we operate in 41 states and other places around the world. But what's interesting is before this all happened, we were talking to all the big operators about their online sports books in the U.S. and everybody was saying, DraftKings is just killing it. Like they're doing really well because they had customers who had already had deposits and credit cards, and they're already KYC'd, and now they're just turning them into sports betting customers. And DraftKings has a really great platform. It's driven. It's sort of caters to a younger audience. Blah blah blah. They went public at a $3 billion valuation, and I just noticed today, I think it was like 18 billion or 17 billion, something insane. Like their market cap is huge. What do you think of that? And how do you think that companies like Caesars or MGM or others can compete with that, or what do they need to do to get on board?
If you had asked me 3 years ago, I would have given you a very different answer. It would have been a little bit arrogant in the sense as being a long-term casino operator and seeing casino operators for decades, that I didn't believe in the value of DraftKings, and I would have been wrong. I've since then am incredibly impressed with their technology. So the fact that they're a technology-first company has allowed them to succeed in ways that some of the biggest gaming companies in the world haven't. And I say this humbly as a member of that community, the Caesars, MGMs, and Wynns of the world. While we are incredibly innovative in terms of guest experience, right? We create the best guest experience on the planet. I say that with 100% certainty. We're not technology companies. Now, you've seen a lot of these major players partner, merge, acquire technology companies to fill that gap. But the culture of innovation as a true technology company is not there. It is with DraftKings. It is with FanDuel. DraftKings does not only cater to a younger audience, but the mobile modern sports fan, which I think is, young and old. I've been very impressed. In one of my companies, Connect TV, we've been very fortunate. We hired the director of business development from DraftKings, and he's brought so much value to our company, and I just continue to be impressed by DraftKings, and I think they're worth everything.
Yeah, it's interesting. When this was all going down, we had just announced virtual esports. And so we created virtual esports where 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we have our own content. We had professional players come and play a bunch of games and tournaments. And then we went to our regulator and we repurposed that content and put it into an RNG type situation where somebody can watch NBA 2K, for example, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 1 minute rounds or 2 minute rounds and bet on them. And it's so popular. It's consistently growing. We have multiple titles. We have like 5 titles now. We have more titles coming. And then, on top of that, we added streamer betting where people could watch their favorite streamer on Twitch and bet on them. And, we just had no idea that this would be picking up the way it's been picking up. And so now the big operators are contacting us saying, how do we get this in their sports books? Part of the challenge, though, is that, and we're open to that. We have created APIs. We did this very quickly. We quickly created APIs. We quickly made a white label version of the platform so that we could sell it to operators, which I think is important to people, who are watching this, people at ICE who are looking for online esports strategies. They can white label this stuff and put it out there. Part of the problem, though, is that, these big operators laid off or furloughed 90% of their employees. So how do they get stuff done? And that's really tough, right? And then at the same time, we're working with regulators in the U.S. who are eager to get us on board as quickly as possible. And so the regulators have actually been more than accommodating to help us get to that stage where we can start selling this into the U.S. But with that said, what do you think about that? How do the big operators deal with it if they furloughed their employees?
Look, I mean, more will be revealed in the next 30 days. We're literally at the worst of it. There's no question that casino operators are going to have to hunker down for a while and are working with skeleton staffs. But they'll learn how to still make these strategic business development decisions. What I'm really impressed with, specifically from Unicorn, but I'm seeing this around esports in general, is with the lack of traditional stick and ball sports and this deserved focus on esports, we're seeing how the casual bettor is betting on games like NBA 2K. I love the fact that you're creating a virtual horse racing game. Correct me if I'm wrong, you're the expert here, but if you looked at esports betting 3, 4, 5 years ago, it's not on those games. It's on Counter-Strike. It's on games that die-hard esport enthusiasts play. We don't want to forget about them, but the mainstream gamer is more likely the demographic that the Las Vegas casinos are going to be focused on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of the reason, so we have this thing that we internally refer to as arcade, but it's like skill betting on yourself on games like Madden and NBA 2K and FIFA, games that regular people like to play against each other. We've launched that. But I think when you think about Unicorn, we're sort of we like to think of ourselves as the future of wagering entertainment, and so we looked at virtual horses and what's wrong with it today or what could be improved on it today. And the thing about virtual horses is you can walk up to a terminal in the UK or wherever it is, and you see these animated horses going, and you place a bet on these animated horses, but there's really no attachment to it. Like you don't know who the horse is, you don't care, you're just placing a bet on the yellow horse and you're letting it go. And then there's been this shift in virtual horses where they're trying to make it more realistic, more animated. So they're using like graphics and stuff that make it feel like it's a real horse that you're betting on. But we felt that wasn't enough. So one of the things that we've been working on is a digital horse racing platform. We call them digital thoroughbreds, where users can actually buy digital thoroughbreds that are limited, that have limited bloodlines, that are very unique. Some of the bloodlines have a higher chance of winning, and things like that. They're trackable on blockchain, so we use blockchain technology to do this, and they can be bred, they can be traded, and they can be raced. And so today, people are actually buying these horses, these thoroughbreds, and they're trading them. But tomorrow, you'll be able to. And you can also race them. So we're doing beta tests on races right now, where people buy in and there's prize money. So if you're a horse owner, your horse can go in a race and you can win the prize money. So that could be anywhere in the world. But then we're broadcasting it on Twitch in these futuristic environments. And the way we're positioning this is we're not trying to make them look like realistic horses. We're making them look like digital thoroughbreds. So when you see them, you'll know what I'm talking about. And we're putting them in what does the racetrack of tomorrow look like? So we created racetracks on the Las Vegas Strip. We're creating racetracks on like the Sydney Harbor Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, things like that. And we're saying what does Las Vegas look like in the year 2140? And that's the idea, right? So people will be able to watch these races on Twitch and then bet on them at the same time. So we have some really cool stuff happening in that space. It's just amazing.
It sounds amazing, Rahul, and I think the last thing that you said is the one I want to focus on. There will be a Las Vegas in 2140. And while the experience that you're describing clearly can be enjoyed and will be enjoyed at home, having that experience in the Las Vegas sports books, in bars and restaurants, adds that level of excitement where it's going to be fun watching it from home. There's nothing like cheering on horses with hundreds of other people. And that's something that the online experience will never be able to replicate. And why I believe that continuing to leverage technology to enhance the brick and mortar experience, to engage your guests at home is critical, but we can't forget about the value of brick and mortar. And yes, it is going to be mitigated for the next 6 to 12 months. It's going to be tough, but it will come back. It will come back. Like I said, I was in China during SARS. Terrible, terrible disease. I believe the mortality rate was far greater than coronavirus. Thank God it didn't spread. But in China, it was terrible. And let's face it, Macau thrived. People came back. Yes,
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I used to roll my eyes when I saw Chinese people wearing masks all the time. I guess, I guess that, I shouldn't have questioned that one. So there might be some modifications in our behavior and expectation. But I believe the crystal ball in some way is China. It came back. It came back, and we will come back bigger and better than ever.
I really hope so. I think I think we all want Vegas to come back. As we were saying before, Vegas got hit very hard, but with all the investments that's happened, with all the sports teams that are coming in, with the Raiders coming in, there's nothing more than I want to do than go to a game. Like I think Vegas, in terms of football games, is going to be insane. Because anytime my team, the Seahawks, play in Vegas, where do you think I'm going to be that weekend, right? I'm going to fly to Vegas. I'm going to get a seat. And I'm going to sit there in the stadium, and I want to bet on the outcome of that match live while it's happening. And I can't wait for that to happen. I just hope we get through this soon. But in the meantime, I think you're right. I think people probably need to be a little bit optimistic about it and be innovative when you think about how you open your business, how you do it safely. What are the experiences you can offer today, and still be safe while doing it?
Agree. Well, we're all in this together, Rahul. And we all do need to be safe. That has to be top of mind. Think about the safety of our team members and our guests, and we are. But we will come back.
That's great. Well, hey, man, thanks. This is great talking to you. I really appreciate it.